You know, we're so excited for where God's going to lead us, for what God's going to do in and through our lives. We're excited to see breakthrough in 2025. We're excited to experience the goodness of God, the faithfulness of God, the mercy of God. Thank you, Jesus, for what you're going to do in 2025. We worship you, God. I need to pay you guys to do that more often. You know, last year our vision for 2024 was dare, and as we dared to believe, we believe that God truly made change in people's hearts and in their lives. We saw testimonies, we saw breakthrough. Many people dared to believe, and God did something supernatural. So that's what happened last year, but we always believe in this church that the best is yet to come, always and forever, because God has so much more in store for you. He has so much more in store for your life, and He has so much more to do in and through you in 2025. So why don't you quickly tell the person next to you? In fact, don't tell them. This is the one time, if you have a terrible voice, that you are forgiven. The person next to you, do this. I can see clearly now. Come on, I don't see you guys singing. Lorraine's right here. If the person next to you couldn't sing, just put up your hand for a moment. Oh, they didn't want to sing. I don't even know how to sing that in Afrikaans. You know, Vision Sunday is all about seeing clearly, and Proverbs 29:18 in the King James Version says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there is no vision, the people perish. I love Psalm 29:18 in the Message translation. It says, if people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend to what He reveals, they are most blessed. The reality is that we as a church want to see what God is doing. Not only do we want to see what God is doing, we want to hear what God is doing, because we don't want to stumble and fall. Many of us who don't have vision for our lives stumble and fall because there's no direction. But this year as a church, we believe that God has downloaded into our hearts, into our spirit, into who we are, a vision that will cause us to live a blessed life, not a stumbling life. So the vision for 2025, I have to put this disclaimer. It is for the church, but it's not for this building. The vision for 2025 is for the person sitting here today. The vision of this house for 2025 is not going to necessarily impact or change this church, but it is because of the people in this room. So tell your person next to you, this vision's for me. I take ownership. So are you ready for 2025? If you can't read and you haven't seen it all over, the vision for 2025 is beyond these walls. Be disciples, make disciples. Be disciples, make disciples. My prayer is that throughout this year, when you hear these words, beyond these walls, that every colleague you see, every friend you see, in your marriage, in your parenting, that you would remember this vision. Beyond these walls, be disciples, make disciples. My prayer is that God would make you uncomfortable and remind you, hey, BTW, by the way, beyond these walls is the vision for your life. Being a disciple is the vision for your life. Making disciple is the vision for your life. That beyond these walls, we would intimately love Jesus. That beyond these walls, we would passionately love Jesus, not like old school farts who don't know how to love Jesus. We're going there. When we go to passion, you know what often irks me in my spirit is when people call themselves Christians outside of the church, but it's just a name. There's no passion behind it. There's no life change behind it. It's all droopy and sad, and I get that you go through things in life, but at some point you got to live with passion and victory, knowing that God's going to do something through my life. So be passionate about Jesus. Be desperate for Jesus, so that the people out there can be the target of your love, your care, and your prayer. Because we cannot make disciples if we aren't disciples ourselves. We cannot make disciples if we don't know how to be disciples beyond these walls. For the rest of February, we're going to go into a series called At the Heart of It. Because we want to go to the essentials, the importance, the core of what it means to go beyond these walls, to be disciples. And then at the end of February, we want to have a Sunday called Just One More, where we as a church partner with you to invite your family, friends, and lost, unsaved, whatever, confused, broken people into this house. So we're going to do our part by making it the best Sunday service we're going to have. We're going to set it all out. We're going to make it visitor friendly. I'm thinking McDonald's vouchers maybe. Some of you are still fasting. I'm sorry for mentioning food. I'm thinking we're going to do some giveaways. Maybe we'll even have burgers in the house. I don't know. But we're going to do something to make sure that when you invite someone to this house, they feel welcome, they feel loved, and they can experience Jesus. But you have to do your part by inviting someone to church at the end of February. Are we in agreement? Fantastic. So vision, beyond these walls, 2024, be disciples, make disciples. I love how our kids' life is already setting this in motion. At this point, they're running through a curriculum by Sibs and Dan, an AOG book that the AOG has released this book, and it goes through the whole Bible. And I love that through the next 2 years, our kids aren't going to be learning about anything else but going into the stories of the Bible week after week after week, because we're making disciples at a young age. We're showing them how to be disciples beyond these walls. So watch the screens for a quick promo video.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm one of the creators of the book called Make Room Kids Edition, The Adventures of Sibs and Dan. Imagine what it would be like to go inside the Bible stories that we know so well, to join in, to see, to feel, to hear, and maybe even speak to the people we read about. Well, The Adventures of Sibs and Dan is a collection of stories that uses prophetic imagination to help us participate and understand the stories in the Bible. Come on an adventure with us as we learn how to live well in the world we live in, making room for others because God made room for us.
There we go. So that's what they're going to be doing this year. And I want to encourage you as a church, if you have kids, make sure you purchase that book in the info desk today. Why? Because we don't just want to teach them curriculum. When you leave this place and you buy that book, you get to read the Bible stories with them. We've started it with our children and they love it. It's 180 Rand, but it's an investment to your child. But also at the same time as you helping your children become disciples, you too will be made a disciple. Because guess what? You're going to be reading your Bible. Something we all struggle with. So it's killing two birds with one stone. It's amazing. So make sure you purchase that in the foyer today. Sibs and Dan, I'm so happy that we're launching this today. So be disciples, make disciples. Beyond these walls. Last week we spoke about pretty much being disciples. We read John 4 verse 7 to 18. A Samaritan woman went to a well. Jesus, tired from a long journey, sitting by a tree most likely or on the floor and resting. And in her approach to the well, Jesus approaches her and says, you know what, I want to give you living water. And she decides, cool, I want this living water. And there was this moment where we could see in the story that she decided to go from what she was and her brokenness into a wholeness. Not sipping from broken wells, but actually drinking from living water. And if you're going to be a disciple of Jesus, you need to stop sipping from broken wells and start drinking from the living water, Jesus Christ himself. You know, disciples are people that trust and believe in their teacher. Our teacher is Jesus. A disciple is a dedicated person to the mission of their teacher. A disciple listens to their teacher and puts their teachings into practice. A disciple imitates their teacher, starts living the way their teacher has taught them how to live. A disciple serves the others around them. A disciple shares the teachings of the teacher in wherever they go. So my point in being a disciple this year is that we would actually go to Jesus, our living water. That if we're going to be followers of Jesus, not just fans of Jesus, whoo, on a Sunday, I love you, Jesus, but then on the week, we don't love you, Jesus, because we forget about it, then we become fans. But we, this year, want to go to becoming followers of Jesus, that our whole lives, and if we're going to be followers of Jesus, we need to start by the well. We need to start at a place where we say, God, give me your living water. I want us to notice the scene here for a moment. I didn't mention this last week, but the scene in this moment, if you're looking at this lady's life, her 5 ex-husbands were not around her. Her current partner was not there. The woman that perhaps hated her and her lifestyle were not there. The only 2 people at this well at that time was Jesus and her. And if we're going to be disciples in 2025, we're going to have a lot more moments where it's not about the people around us, but it's about Jesus and me. That we encounter Jesus and me, that he changes my life, Jesus and me. It's not about my past, it's not about my ex, it's not about anything else but Jesus and me. That we're going to the source of living water. It's about Jesus and me. As you look back over your life, I want you to quickly think about the moments where you encountered Jesus face to face. Not physically, obviously, because then you wouldn't be here. But where you encountered him, where you had a moment in his presence and perhaps he called you to something and you said no. Many of us have had those moments where we know God is calling us somewhere and somehow, and because of the distractions around us, we've said, nah. Or, oh, not right now. Maybe later. And then maybe later never comes, because who knows, if you're a husband in the room, when you say, baby, I'll do it later, later never comes. No husband agreed with that. Clearly, I'm alone. I need counseling on how to be a better husband. You agreed. Thank you, Kitchener. Thanks for your honesty. You know, it's the first step to freedom. Being honest with yourself. It's a long walk to freedom, that's right. But we need to be disciples. Not fans of Jesus, but followers of Jesus. Just you and him. How many moments in our week, in our life, in every day, do we just have moments where it's us and him, not us and him and the notification on my watch? Not us and him, and in the traffic we slip out a swear word, I'm back, Jesus. But we become followers of Jesus where our life, we believe that this year God has laid on our hearts beyond these walls actually means that we're following in his footsteps every single day. Living with kingdom mindsets, kingdom purposes, kingdom standards. That we're actually saying, God, my standards are actually too low. I want to raise my standard to what your standards are. Be disciples. That we as a church would not just think about going big, but we would think about going deep. Our first prayer meeting of this year, God laid that word in my heart so much that we need to free fall into a depth with Jesus. As a church, not a miserable looking church, but a lovely church who's deep falling into his presence, because it's about you and me, Jesus. I'm a disciple. I'm not a fan of Jesus. I'm a follower. I don't just go watch the Bet S20 match and hope I win R1 million or whatever by catching one hand, which is now like, so nobody knows what I'm talking about. It's fine. Two little cricket supporters. 2 million, thank you. And the prize money is now 166,000 because of the amount of. But anyway, the point is, we don't want to be fans where we're just waving a Joburg Kings flag, or Arsenal, Man City playing today, and we're like, yeah, City, go City. I'm actually with City on this one. City. Be disciples, make disciples. The second part of our vision for this year is to make disciples. In the book called The Art of Personal Witnessing by a man named Lorna Sani, he points out there were two types of brothers in the New Testament who did the work of evangelism. Everybody say two brothers, because you're falling asleep on me. I can't bring so much passion and then you bring nothing. Hey, come on. We're a church that agrees. It's Vision Sunday. We're going to change some stuff this year. So are we preaching together? Some of you are already tired from agreeing so much earlier. No, we're not done. Now. So there's two brothers in the New Testament who did the work of evangelism. The first brother, whose name was Peter. And Peter was, if you want to call him a fisher style, he went fishing with nets. Because on Pentecost Sunday, he actually caught a large crowd of people got saved because of his ministry. But then there was another type of fisherman, another person making disciples, another person following Jesus and said, I'm going to make disciples. His name was Andrew. Andrew never went out with nets. He went out with a pole and a line, which means he did one-on-one evangelism. So Peter went with this net. And you see, this is the thing when it comes to making disciples. We all think we need to catch everybody. But Andrew went out with a pole and a line, one by one evangelizing people, one by one loving people, one by one caring for people, one by one praying for people. Guess who the first person that he led to Christ was? His brother Peter. So him with his one-line method, his brother gets saved, and through his brother getting saved, a net catches many, many thousands of people. So guess what your one net could do? Your one line on one person, imagine what it could do when you love your people, you care for people, you pray for people, you make disciples because you're a good disciple. Imagine what you could do through reaching one person at a time. Evangelism is so scary. It's got like this whole, don't say evangelism. New modern term, just reach the lost. Reach people who don't know Jesus. The thought of us going beyond these walls to tell people about Jesus and actually live a life that reflects Jesus, to love people, to care for people, to pray for people, it's highly intimidating. It's scary, especially for introverts. But even for extroverts, we're the life of the party, but let us speak about Jesus. Ooh. Now all of a sudden I'm an introvert. God's calling us this year to make disciples, and we cannot get a pass from the socially awkward thing of reaching the lost. We don't get a free pass, because if we call ourselves followers of Jesus, this is a byproduct of who we are. I want us to note that this book by Sani was called The Art of Personal Witnessing. Because witnessing to your friends, family, and everybody in your life has to be personal. Telling people about Jesus has to be personal. I can preach the best message in the world, but if it's not personal to you, it will never happen. It has to be personal. It has to be important to you. It has to be personal if we're going to be effective. Colossians 4 verse 3 says, and pray for us too, that God may open a door for our message, so that we may proclaim the mystery of Christ, for which I am in chains. He had a passion, a personal revelation of what it meant to share the gospel. He's in chains, and he still wants the message to get out. Why? Because it was personal. I want us to realize that we need to develop a concern for souls in 2025. Not just your soul, but other souls. God will have a way of putting us in the right place at the right time if we have a personal conviction that we need to love people, care for people, and pray for people. So how do we go about this reaching the world? How do we go about being disciples and making disciples, and mostly focusing on making disciples this morning? I want us to look at one of the best examples of personal evangelism in the Bible. In all of Christian history, actually. Jesus himself with the woman at the well. The first thing we see in the story of the woman at the well and Jesus in his approach to reaching someone who was perhaps not saved. A Samaritan woman. God's calling us. The first point is, go out of your way. Go out of your way. See, if we're going to make disciples in 2025, you're going to have to go out of your way. John 4, 3-5 says, he left Judea and returned again to Galilee. Now he had to go through Samaria, so he arrived at a Samaritan town called Sychar, however you want to call it. Although the road through Samaria was the shortest route from Jerusalem to Galilee, okay, you got to track with me. The road from Jerusalem to Galilee the shortest route was through Samaria. Most of the Jewish people didn't take that route. They took the longer route around Samaria, around so that they could skip going through the shortest route. Why? Because they didn't like the Samaritans. So they decided, like many of us won't decide, to take a longer route, walk further just to avoid some people. But in this story, we see Jesus going, I'm not going to walk the long route. I'm going to walk the short route because I need to prove a point here. I'm the Jesus for all people. And so he decides it's a short route. Now, let's not get confused with short routes for a moment, because the short route wasn't an easy route. That route was a hot route. The wind blew. Their throats got sore from how dry the air was. They were in the heat of the sun. They were going up a mountain pass. The elevation was insane. To get through to Samaria was a very challenging route. But Jesus decided, I need to go out of my way to reach one more person. I need to go out of my way when it comes to loving people, caring for people, and praying for people. When it comes to reaching people who still need Jesus in their lives, we are going to need to get out of our way, or go out of our way to reach the lost. Jesus could have taken the normal route, but he didn't, because he knew that there's a difference maker in this city. It says he had to go through Samaria, not he wanted to. There was a personal revelation, conviction, whatever you want to call it, Jesus himself in flesh going, not I want to go the shortest route, but I have to. Many of us need to maybe change our mentality when it comes to being disciples and making disciples beyond these walls, that it's not I want to, I have to. I have to leave church on a Sunday and find people to love, pray for, and care for. His route wasn't because of travel arrangements. To make it more convenient for him, there's 3 donkeys up the road for you. His route wasn't, that was funny. That was also false laughing. His route wasn't practical necessity. It was, he knew there was someone who needed to hear his message. This year, if we're going to go out to the world and reach people, and again, I want to just phrase our vision in a way that you understand this. Reaching people is not filling church. That's why this vision is so hard for me. Because I want to see a full church, big church, great church. I want to see that. Why? Because then we're having more impact. But God's brought us back to a point where we're saying, no, let's not just come to church, let's be the church. Let's actually be disciples. Let's actually make disciples. And if there's fruit thereof where people come to church, great. But if there's lives changed in your workplace because of you, even better. Because one more person's filling heaven, not the church. And just don't hear what I'm not saying. We love the church. We love gathering together. But our vision is to go beyond these walls. Many of us, if we're going to reach the needs of those outside, we're going to have to get out of our way. Go out of our way. It may start with a full-on gospel message. Like as you walk in the office, I need to tell you about Jesus. Some of them have annoyed you long enough for you to do that. But also it could just start with changing your coffee break at work, so that you can sync up your coffee break with someone else's coffee break. And together, all of a Sunday, you're having a conversation. Because I'm going to wait 1 more hour for my coffee break because I know that person needs to hear about Jesus. I want to prephrase this as well. It's not just reaching the lost, those who don't know Jesus. There's many Christians in South Africa. If we look at our context, remove your Western thinking for a moment. If we look at South Africa, our context, we have a high percentage of people who call themselves Christians. But we have a low percentage of people who actually act on that. So you might have to go to your workplace, look at the Christians in your workplace and go, you need Jesus. They're not disciples. They're fans. And so your job is going, oh, we're both Christian, great. But you're not a disciple. And this isn't from a place of judgment. It's from a place of love, care, and prayer. It's from a place of going, I need to change you. We need to change together. We need to walk a journey of discipleship. So you need to change your coffee break perhaps. Go out of your way. Change your coffee break if you get that. We don't. We don't have lunch break. Pray for your boss. I'm sorry, Leanne Stella. You may need to go out of your way from small talk to actually entering deeper conversation in your workplace or with a sibling. It's lacquer to keep small talk. We do it every Sunday. Hey, how you doing? Good. Oh, great. But when you ask the next question but how you really do? Ooh, burst out in tears. Oh, why did I open this door? Because God wants you to speak to that person. Go deeper than just small talk at work, at your home, at your gym. Maybe it's changing which machine you use at the gym first. Because you start watching people's schedules. Don't be weird about this. Don't be stalkers. Just be observant. Okay, they use that machine first every day, and God's really leading me to build relationship with this person. I'm going to change my gym machine. I'm going to do legs even though it's arm day. I'm going to do it. Why? Because I want to build relationship. Maybe you need to go out of your way to actually engage in conversation with someone. Like you just go to work, leave. Perhaps you this year just need to go in a different mindset of I'm going to be aware of people. I'm going to love people. Maybe it's stopping before work. Yo, this is so inconvenient. You know, we've got to get to work. But stopping before work at the garage. I see that the bootleggers open down in Robert Broom. That's crazy cool. Buying 2 coffees and taking one with you to work. Building a relationship. Maybe it's stopping in the business of your schedule, getting onto the Mr. D app and ordering someone in your family who probably hasn't spoken to you for years, some McDonald's. Where you show kindness even when they don't deserve it. This is what it's going to take, going out of our way to actually make disciples rather than avoiding people. Like all the other Jews did in avoiding Samaria. Can we stop avoiding people and maybe go with a new mindset of, hey, my vision for 2025 links up with the church. We're going beyond these walls and I'm going to be intentional to go out of my way to build relationship. The people around us need to be the target of our love, our care, and our prayer. Second thing we see Jesus do, go even when you're tired. Fatigue is no excuse for failure to love, care, and pray for people. Fatigue is no excuse not to reach that one more person. It's February, guys. Yo. How did we get here? Valentine's is just now. This is crazy. We're in February, but some of us I'm tired. We're tired. It's hot. Have you felt how hot it is? Today's humid. Now we're all like, ugh. Fatigue is no excuse not to reach our world. No matter how tired you were, Jesus went through the worst. He was hot, he was bothered, he was dry throat, there was no water, it was so scarce. He actually sent the disciples to get nourishment because there was none around. Yes, he's sitting by a well, but he had nothing to get water out of the well. So there he is, tired from his long journey, but he wasn't too tired to build a relationship with someone around him. He wasn't too tired to say, hey, this person's important to me. Many of us are too tired to notice that which God is showing us around us right now, in your life, in your family, in your marriage, whatever it takes to make more disciples. We cannot be too tired to make disciples. Verse 6 says, Jesus, tired, worn out from his journey, sat down by the well. It was about the 6th hour, noon. We all know that 12 o'clock is a tiring time. Jesus and his disciples traveling, but he goes out. I want you just for a moment to forget the Sunday school picture of Jesus being tired. Because most of us probably have that image. Jesus tired, he's sitting under a lacquer tree, arms folded, lying back. Oh, I see someone walking and he opens his eyes. Oh, what a beautiful moment. No, it was probably a horrible moment. He was so tired, so hot, dehydrated, but he wasn't too tired. In his exhaustion, the opportunity that he was waiting for arrives. The opportunity he was waiting for. Are you waiting for opportunity to not just be disciples, but make disciples? He evangelizes, and the act of sharing himself with this woman not only converts her, but it energizes him. I love this. The disciples come back to offer Jesus food. He's like, no, I'm fine. Dude, you were just tired. You were probably hungry and thirsty, and now you're saying, no, I'm fine. Yes, because he did ministry work. He evangelized, and he felt revitalized. He felt ready. I'm ready to move on again. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to go beyond the walls one more time. The reality is that even when we're tired, exhausted, stressed out, overworked, overwhelmed, that's everybody in this room right now, we are still called to shine Jesus. We are still called to make people the target of our love, our care, and our prayer. People still need our intentional relationship development skills that we're going to learn in 2025. Someone once said, if we find ourselves doing the will of God in a way that makes a difference in the world, it fills us with enthusiasm, and enthusiasm lifts us above our physical necessity and our lower desires. When you do the work of God, it fills you with enthusiasm. Number 3, go. Not now, just now. Go and be aware of the people around you. So go when you're tired. Go and be aware of the people around you. The lady comes to the well and he offers her water. He asks her for water. He was aware that there was a person around him. See, the disciples likely would have been walking on the same road as her, walking down the road to get nourishment for Jesus. But they would have passed her. They ignored her, who she was, what she was. There's no conversation yet. Later says they were surprised to see that Jesus was talking to her. So they would have passed on the road and completely ignored her flat, but not Jesus. Why? Because he had a heart for the lost. He had a consciousness and a sensitivity for the lost. Who is in your life right now that you know could be the target of your love, care, and prayer? Think about it for a moment. Check back into this preach. Who's in your life right now? One person that you can think of, yes, that's the person. They call themselves Christian, but I know that I need to love them, I need to pray for them, I need to take care of them, and I need to lead them more closer to Jesus. Who's in your life right now that you could build relationship with, start conversation with, and eventually lead to Jesus? Because if we're going to be effective beyond these walls, then we're going to need to become aware of the people around us. The people at our work, at our school, at our gyms, at the shops, at the braais, at the get-togethers. A braai and a get-together is not an excuse for you to hang up your Christianity coat. This is where we need to shine Jesus. And I'm not saying be religious like I'm Holy Joe, I don't do anything. No, it's going as an authentic you, but they can see that you're a child of God, that you love Jesus, that you're ready to make disciples. Some are harder to make than others, but do it anyway. Jesus was aware. He didn't wait for her to seek him, he sought her. I love what Luke 19:10 said, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. The Son of Man didn't come to wait and then see you need saving. He came to seek and save. If we're going to go beyond these walls in 2025 and be disciples and make disciples, we're going to have to seek. We're going to have to do some searching. We're going to have to be aware of who's around us. Not just wait, God, send me somebody that I need to disciple and love a little bit more. Send me somebody that I need to pray for. No. There's this feeling inside of us where we're going, God, I'm seeking, I'm searching, I'm working, I'm walking into work with a different perspective today. Not, Blue Mondays, opportunity. Who's in my room, who's in my life right now that needs Jesus more? If you're seeking the lost, you have to be aware of the people around you. Number 4, go. God is leading you. God is leading you. Jesus really did need water. We can see that in the story. He really did need it. But he was more eager to use this conversation with the woman to develop a heart to share the gospel with. I mean, it's no accident that the woman showed up last minute after Jesus' arrival. It was a divine appointment. I believe that when we're in the will of God, he will send to us and send us to the people that we need to reach. I want to do a point within a point here. Go, God is leading you. Second point in the point. Share conversationally. Share conversationally. D.L. Moody said this: the woman was not interested in the gospel, but she was interested in the water. So Christ spoke to her about that. She wasn't interested in the gospel. She came there for water. And Christ used water to reach her. People aren't going to be interested in the gospel every time you walk into your office or your workplace or your family. Even your husband is like, don't tell me about church again. This might be a reality. Then use the conversation, the things they're passionate about, things they love. Share conversationally. It wasn't an awkward conversation. It just flowed. You could see it as you read the story. Share conversationally. Conversation is important to build bridges between people. I love what Pastor Donovan Kutsia used to say. He was the previous chairman of the Assemblies of God, and he said this. He used to share this. Sorry, let me get my thing right here. He would know as much about as many topics as possible so that he could engage with many different people. So if you're in an airplane next to him and you started speaking business, I know something about that. Sports, cricket, I know something about that. Formula One, the only thing I don't know something about is golf, and we'll get there. And then if he didn't know something, he continued to say this, that he would ask them about it. Because people love talking about themselves. And they love talking about what they're passionate about. So when God is leading you, go into the conversation, do some research on a lot more things in your life so that you have something to talk about. But when you don't know, just ask. Tell me more about that. Build a relationship. Don't just be like, I'm here to save you. Build relationship. Number 5, go to anyone, anytime, anywhere. Go to anyone, anytime, anywhere. The Samaritan woman asked him, how is it that you, being a Jew, asked me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink? Anyone, anytime, anywhere. The gospel ministry cuts across all barriers. If you look at this room for a moment, we got whites, confused whites, that's me, I'm Portuguese, Argentinians, met people from the UK, we got Africans around us, we got Indians around us. Are there Indians in the room? I love Indians. Go curry, love it. It's one of my favorite foods. I love curry. I'm just putting that out there for those who make nice curry. Okay. But if you look at the room around you, the common denominator here, we would not be doing this if it wasn't for Jesus. He's the common denominator. He breaks barriers. He brings people together. So how can we live in South Africa without racism? Jesus. It's Jesus. 2025, maybe this year we need to realize that people matter to Jesus. That we need to break barriers down. That we need to break some walls that stand between us and the people we're trying to reach. Wherever you go, you're doing ministry. And now I want to end with this as we jump all the way down to John 4, verse 27 to 29. Because what happened between Jesus and the Samaritan woman was powerful, but this is significant. Just then his disciples came and they were surprised to find him talking with a woman. However, no one said, what you're asking about or why are you talking to her? Then the woman left her water jar, went into the city, and began telling the people, come, see a man who told me all things that I've done. Can this be the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed one? So the people left the city and were coming to him. I want you to highlight this. The woman left the water jar. the reason she came to the well was to get water. And she was so excited about what just happened between her and Jesus, becoming a disciple of Jesus, that she left the water jar. She runs back to the city and says, yo guys, you need to come and see. You need to come with me and see what Jesus just did. I think it could be the Messiah. We've been waiting for this moment. Come with me. I wonder how many of us in this room, how many of us could have this moment where we go, oh my goodness, I am a disciple of Jesus. I'm so excited about my faith and my Christianity. I'm so excited that even though life is hard, I still have victory, purpose, and peace. That I'm going to leave church on a Sunday and say, yo guys, come and see. I think I've encountered the Messiah. That you leave the thing that you were so desperately after because he's the answer to more than you know. There's no telling what could happen when we go beyond these walls to make disciples. One more life could be changed. One more family could be saved. One more life could be restored. One more person could be healed. One more marriage can be flourishing. One more person making society better. One more person loving, caring, and praying for those around them. One more person reaching many more for Jesus. One more person joining us here in Real Life Church for worship. One more person joining the mission of reaching their world simply because we're willing to say it's not just about me being a disciple, but I'm going out to make disciples. Beyond these walls. The vision for 2025 is that we move from fans of Jesus to followers. And that's going to be hard for many of us because we're so used to being fans, celebrating him on a Sunday, ignoring him in the week. Fans to followers. But the second part of that vision is that God would then use these passionate followers, intimately in love with Jesus, followers of Jesus, to make disciples wherever they go. I want to give you 5 things to quickly, ways that you can reach your world very quickly. Share the whole gospel. You might be in a place and in a relationship with someone where you can share the whole gospel. Right there and then you can lead them to Jesus. Invitation. You could invite people to come to church with you. Not, hey, when you're ready sometime, come to church with me, it will be really cool. You could actually invite people and say, meet me 8:15 a.m. at church. Afterwards, lunch sorted. I have to pay for that? Yes, you do. On just one more Sunday, I think I'll give a voucher for someone who invites someone to church, and you can take you and the whole family for supper. How about that? That you actually invite people to church, but you're not sometime, when you're okay with it, no, come with me, 8:15 a.m. And afterwards, I will take you. I will take you to the diner for the best ribs in Krugersdorp, in Joburg. The next way you can make a disciple is share a burden. Share a burden with the people around you. Be known as the person of prayer at work. Because when their lives fall apart, they're not going to come to the fun guy, they're going to come to the praying guy. It's cool if they don't like you, but share a burden. Or share another cup of coffee, because they might not be ready for the gospel message yet. Just share another cup of coffee. Build relationship. Deep relationship. I'm going to ask the worship team to come up. And we're going to sing a song called Broken Vessels. Because when I was listening to the song before even preparing this message, I really felt that God said, being disciples and making disciples, going beyond these walls, actually means that we need to say, God, I am a vessel that you can use. I'm available for you to use me, God. The lyrics in the song speak about, God, you saved me. It's a realization that we wouldn't be where we are today if we weren't saved. But we cannot keep this salvation to ourselves. We need to reach our world. So God, I'll be a vessel. In my brokenness, you gave me grace, and I didn't just want to keep grace to myself. I want to extend grace to my world. God, I want to lay down my life so that others can see your life in me. This year's vision is from the basis that we've been saved, and we need to extend that salvation, that grace to the world around us. God, raise up the broken to life. That's the prayer. Raise up the broken to life through me, through my life, as your disciple. So as you prepare your hearts to make that decision, because again, this vision is not just for this building, it's for us as a people. So as you sit there, I want you to prepare your heart and say, God, yeah, I'll be a vessel. And I'm serious about this decision. So we're going to give you a moment to make it, because it's a serious decision. We don't just want another vision that's on a banner. or on the floors. We want 2025's word to be so true in who we are and what we carry. So prepare your hearts to say, yes, God, I will be your vessel.